Hello again, everybody. I'm Professor Robert Romano. Hope everybody's enjoying the lovely weather we're having out there. I think it's 1 degrees here, so enjoy. I wanted to respond to the discussion question that I posted. The discussion question that I posted stated, in reading the Taylor versus Wake Forest case in conjunction with the article, The 1 Year Renewable Scholarship, did the judge in the Taylor and Wake Forest case make the right decision or not? Most of you, I think everybody, said that the judge did. Yes, the judge did make the right decision in finding that Taylor had breached his contract and not allowing him to recover damages. Well, I don't know if that's correct. Let's think about this. Let's go through a little history of the NCAA. The NCAA was created roughly in 1905. It had a different name back then, but it was created in roughly 1905. And the reason it was created was because at that time, so in football, 18 players were killed in 1 year. So 18 college football players were killed in 1 year. That's a lot. So what happened was the then president Theodore Roosevelt said to the universities, "Come up with some rules, come up with some regulations. We can't have this anymore." Because up until then, the schools regulated themselves. The student athletes actually regulated themselves. They were responsible for setting up the rules, for setting up the games, that kind of thing. So in 1905, after the 18 deaths, Theodore Roosevelt said it was out of hand, and you must do something about it. And if you don't, I will shut this down. I will shut college football down. So at that time, the NCAA was created, and initially they were responsible for setting up the rules. All right, what rules the colleges were going to use when they played against each other, make the game more safe, and that was pretty much it. What the NCAA did up until through the 20s, through the 30s, through the 40s, and then when athletes and veterans started coming back from World War II, everything changed. In the 1950s, at that time, the NCAA amended the rules to allow a student athlete scholarship. From 1905 to the 1950s, there were no student athlete scholarships. Student athletes went to the schools to basically get educated. They paid their way and they got educated. That was the draw. 1950s, that all changed. At that time, the NCAA amended the rules to allow a student athlete scholarship. And initially, the student athlete scholarships were for 4 years, meaning if you showed up on college campus, you were guaranteed a 4 year scholarship. All right. So if you were recruited to play football, you showed up, and as long as you maintained your eligibility grade wise, you would graduate. You didn't have to play. You didn't have to participate. It didn't matter. Once you showed up, you were guaranteed the 4 years. All right. It seems a little odd now. Kind of talked going back to this, but it hasn't happened yet. The second part was that freshmen weren't eligible. So if you were a freshman and you got a 4 year ride to say St. John's to play basketball, freshman year you could not play. There were freshman teams you could participate on, but you could not play at the varsity level. And this was because they wanted the schools and the NCAA recognized that it takes a little time to get acclimated to college life. It's different. Way different from high school. You have time management issues, you have study skill issues, you're moving away from home for the first time. So the NCAA thought it best, and the schools, member institutions thought it best to allow 1 year for the student athletes to adjust. They're going to be there for 4 anyway, so what difference did it make? And this rule was in effect until the NCAA changed it in 1972. In 1972, they changed it to what we currently have is the 1 year renewable scholarship. That means your student athlete scholarship is for 1 year and must be renewed at the end of the year in order for you to come back under scholarship. And it's renewable unilaterally by the member institutions, the schools. All right. They can at any time say, "No, we don't want you. Thanks for showing up," and then cut your scholarship. And that changed about 1972. And it's kind of what they did to Taylor versus Wake Forest, in Taylor versus Wake Forest. He was there. He didn't participate. After his sophomore year, they cut his scholarship. But when was Taylor versus Wake Forest ruled upon? In the book, the court ruling was 1972. All right, so think about that logically. If the court ruling was 1972, he had to have been in school before that. All right, and if you read the long version of the decision, Mr. Taylor was enrolled in Wake Forest roughly 1966, 1967. So under the 4-year rule. So when Taylor enrolled, he was guaranteed a 4-year scholarship. So when he decided not to play because he wanted to concentrate on his grades, I mean, his first semester he had a 1.0. He did get it up to 1.9 to be eligible. But it was his decision not to play. Now, under the rules of the NCAA at that time, it was perfectly okay. So, my question again, did the judge make the right ruling in Taylor versus Wake Forest? Absolutely not. The judge did not apply the right law. He should have followed. He followed the Wake Forest rules, but that wasn't the right rules to follow. He needed to follow the NCAA student athlete scholarship rules. Wake Forest, as a member institution, pledges to abide by all the rules and regulations of the NCAA. And at that time, the NCAA guaranteed a student athlete 4 years. So the judge made the wrong decision. Okay. Any questions about this? Any comments about this? Any follow up about this? I'm around. I was away for a week, so it was a little difficult getting back and forth, getting back to people. But I think I did a pretty good job. But if anybody has any questions, comments, or anything, please feel free to reach out. I'm back. Take care.